This is an Abundant Insight. My name is Robin Sturgis, and I provide business analytics services. Today's question is, what can be gained from analyzing business data in a dashboard? The answer to that question is that the visual presentation of data enables knowledge, awareness, and insights that simply cannot be gained from viewing data in a spreadsheet. Visual data answers specific questions, supports reporting to stakeholders, allows for analyses such as comparison, correlation, cause and effect analysis. It gives a competitive advantage because honestly, very few people are effectively using data to run their businesses. Visual data allows you to see opportunities in your business for cost savings, for efficiencies, for places to grow revenue, for comparing your actuals to your budget and your progress to your goals. There are additional efficiencies such as measuring ROI on marketing or capital expenditures or investments.
Robin, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you taking some time to visit with Abundant Insights. Everyone, this is Robin Sturgis, the founder of infoFluency. They provide dashboards for analyzing your business data in all sorts of cool ways.
Thank you, Carl. It's a privilege, and I do appreciate you having me on. It's a real honor.
Thank you. Good. Well, one of the things that, when I'm talking to people, we talk about KPIs and, managing data. And, one of the questions I do get is, well, do I need a dashboard? Why, what's the point? What's the benefit of that? So what do you see there?
Well, what I see there is that our brains are wired visually. And so if we are consuming data, specifically the data in our businesses, in a visual form, our brains can make decisions and correlations, see insights, see trends that we simply can't see, well, at least the vast majority of us can't see, by analyzing a spreadsheet full of numbers. It's not visual enough for our brains to consume in a meaningful way.
So if you've got a string of numbers, it's hard to see what jumps, a change jumps out. I guess if
Yes.
you go from 90 to 60, on a spreadsheet, that may just skip by us. But if you see that on a chart, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, you can compare size and relativity of those visual components in a way that you can't on a spreadsheet. So like your example, a change over a prior period is something that's very visually informative to us in a way that raw numbers are not. The same holds true for a trend over time. If you want to see a year's trend, you have to look at 12 numbers in a spreadsheet, whereas in a visual representation, all you have to do is just glance at a line that takes a certain direction, or a set of bars that are increasing or hopefully not decreasing, depending on the metric. So that visual representation allows us to consume that information much more quickly and more meaningfully.
Okay, that's cool. So now I would assume that different parts of the organization might have very different dashboards. So like a CEO might have one type of dashboard, and operations or sales might have a different type. What does that look like?
Yes. So you'll see the executive who needs a broad overview. They want the high level of what's going on in each area of the business, as opposed to the departmental manager or someone managing sales or marketing or inventory. They're much more focused on their area of responsibility, and they're more likely to use a dashboard for answering a specific question or tracking their progress or getting one specific piece of information that they need to pass on to someone else, versus that executive who just wants the big picture.
Mm-hmm. So how important is it to have really a customized dashboard?
It just depends on where you are in your data journey. Um, just about everybody can benefit from a starting place that's rather off the shelf. And with that as a basis, can move into something more customized as they have need. And that, is useful on a lot of fronts, not only from the standpoint of getting accustomed to relying on a dashboard to inform your decisions, but also it can be really beneficial from a cost standpoint. You can start with something very basic for a really friendly cost, and as you have budget, modify and tailor it much more specifically to your needs as time goes on.
And more, everything's moving into web apps and online tools. Does that make it a lot easier to update dashboards?
It sure does. When we can, and that's one of the strengths of a dashboard that I haven't mentioned, is the ability to connect that dashboard to many different business applications. Consolidation of what's happening in the business from all of your apps. You may have QuickBooks data, you may have sales data from a different system, your inventory may be in a different system. And if they can all converge in one visual place, that's really, really beneficial. And the more that those applications are available online, the easier it is for the dashboard to connect and keep the data coming in a fresh, up to the minute manner. Whereas the data that we're pulling in from spreadsheets, while that's fine, it just does tend to be on a slower update cadence. And so your data from those sources is just a little bit more stale generally.
So have you, in the course of making dashboards for all these companies, run into a situation where a dashboard, really alerted someone to a particular problem or opportunity that you can recall?
Yes. So this has to be my all-time favorite story. I have a client who was an incoming CEO. He was taking over the operations from a man who was retiring, and he was really trying to get his hands and mind around what was happening in the business. But that company was very old school and didn't have a way to give him the metrics and the analytics that he needed to really get up to speed. So we came in and helped him out, and we gave him the most basic ranking of customers and their sales numbers. And the very top largest client jumped off the page at him, and he went back to the reigning CEO and others in the company and said, who's this top customer? We need to know them. What's the relationship like? Let's tell me all about them. No one knew who they were. Not a single company. They said, never heard of them. No idea. And so he picked up the phone, he got on an airplane, he was in a meeting with them, and they still to this day have seen, incredible sales from them and growth year over year. So absolutely my favorite story, because all that was done was to give him, a bar chart and, that ranked those customers, and the answer and the insight jumped off the page.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah. Cool. Good. Any other, key, tips or suggestions for people thinking about dashboards?
Well, one of the things that I get that I see requested very frequently is people want to know how their marketing is affecting their business. And it's often really, really hard to measure marketing ROI. It's just kind of this nebulous thing. It's really hard to draw, a straight line back to how much, revenue increase is coming out of those marketing efforts. And so something that we have done that has been as effective as I think that as you can do is to show the marketing trend next to, say, the quote trend. next to the actual sales, next to website traffic, and that those trends stacked up next to each other can really give you some sense of correlation and cause and effect, and help you get your hands around whether or not those marketing efforts are, having an effect kind of up that up or down that chain of events in your business.
Right. Well, that's a great idea. Yeah. I mean, with more and more, kind of digital world, especially through the pandemic now,
Yes.
yeah, more things are digital. But even so, my experience is it's hard to see that direct relationship. You've got lags, and you've got,
Yes.
changing, strategies and
Mhm.
tactics over time. So, yeah.
Indeed.
So do you typically do that over like 3 months, 6 months, a year? What type of time frame do you see as being effective?
We draw the time frame out as long as possible because you can always, hone in on a specific time period that piques your interest. So going as long as possible to see some of those lags and give them time to show up in the data is really helpful. And then, when that interesting time period appears, then you can go back and zoom in and really try to get your hands around what actually happened. What were we posting about, or what marketing campaign had we launched, and um, factor in what was happening in the broader market or the economy or pandemic, or whatever else it might have been.
Hmm. Right. Right. Yeah. Well, that could be, yeah, I can see where that can be very valuable. Cool.
Mhm.
Cool. Good. Now, I guess for, things that are traditionally, measured a lot, the production, the sales, marketing, even finance, are there personnel applications for dashboards?
Absolutely. Great personnel applications, great customer service applications. Specifically with personnel, um, there are performance metrics that can be measured. I've had requests for a lot of folks wanting to really analyze burden rate and get a handle on what it actually in total is costing them to carry an employee. Attrition is a big one. Staffing and capacity analysis are big. So all those things, are really helpful to organizations as they look to hire and make really effective decisions that way. Um, we all know that, without our people, our companies are nothing, and it's just so vital to make really wise decisions in personnel, and the greater extent that those can be data driven, the more sound the decision.
That's fantastic. It's fantastic. Well, great. This has been very informative for me. I've definitely learned a lot. So thank you so much for sharing with us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Great.
Really enjoyed it.
And everyone, for more information about dashboards and to find Robin's contact information, look at the links in this post.